kick the stream off, y'all. Showed up once again. Nope, so talk about that in just a second. Dak's fault he don't play defense, though. Let's make sure we understand that first and foremost. Sorry, guys, that was not supposed to loop twice. I didn't realize I had it clicked on loop. Just like the other day when we brought my guy Sands in on the preview to help us break down this Saints matchup. That clearly did not go the way that we wanted it to go. But if some people who were paying attention paid close enough attention, it went the way that some of us feared that it potentially could. Okay? But the mind of its own, this laptop, man, when I brought Sands on the other day, it all of a sudden kicks me from the XLR microphone to the built-in microphone, and we get the worst echo in the world. But it is what it is, y'all. I will say this. And yes, Cowboys Beat, absolutely. My guy Cowboys Beat's about to join us here in just 1 second. We're going to get through a couple of these little miscellaneous to-dos. We're going to bring him on, hear from him, get a different perspective. I'm just going to kind of wrap things up and summarize the way I see what happened. But the answer is yes, Cowboys Beat. Absolutely, brother. Total domination. I think the Saints scored touchdowns on their first 7 drives. I don't think the Cowboys got a stop defensively until halfway through the third quarter. Dak Prescott turned the football over 2 times, yes. Had a receiver fall down at the top of his route. Kind of an inexplicable thing, one of those weird situations that happens. I mean, what can you do? You know, and then later on in the second half, when you're down, what was it, 41-19, I think at the time. That's a pick, just trying to go to his really one and only go-to playmaker, CeeDee Lamb, trying to force it into double coverage because that's what you got to do. Now, the Cowboys, we talked about them. If I'm Dennis Allen, right, the Saints defense, what I would do, which is force this Cowboys team, you know, basically dare them to run the football at you. Cowboys have to, it's their job to force the Saints out of vision-based drop 7, you know, single or 2 high safety defenses, right? I didn't realize, though, that they weren't going to have a chance or that they weren't going to be able to do that because their defense was going to be so anemic. So either way, the Saints forced the Cowboys' hand. They made them one-dimensional. But it wasn't necessarily because the Cowboys couldn't run the football. And I was actually encouraged. I saw a little bit more creativity, a little bit more nuance. Still not to the level that I want it to be or that I think it could get to as the season progresses. But, yeah, just there was never a chance at staying competitive when you're giving up big play after big play. The Saints had 35 points at one point in time. I think it was well into the third quarter. Derek Carr had 13 total pass attempts. 35 points on the board. It's just stuff that you don't see, man. That's so what you get, right? The Cowboys Kryptonite, the Shanahan tree, which is Clint Kubiak. I talked about this, and some of y'all maybe didn't see the short form preview. I got it out a little bit later this morning than I wanted, but it's okay. Like I said, note to self, maybe next week against the Ravens, I won't include everything that strikes fear in me the most, or that I fear the most for the Cowboys defense or for the team as a whole, and I won't include those things into my preview because every single one of those seemingly came to life in a big way. So that one's on me. I'll wear that one. I'll take the L. But listen, look around the league, y'all. The NFL, I originally had the title of this video, it's cracked. Absolutely cracked. I mean, the Ravens lose to the Raiders. They're now 0-2 on the year. The Niners lose to the Vikings. They're now 1-1. We get completely dismantled and embarrassed by the Saints. And you know, the Eagles are probably going to lose tomorrow night to the Falcons. So, hey, life goes on, man. It's week 2. Remember, think back to where we were a week from today last year, 2023. Remember how heavy the sky was falling? How much that was weighing on us. We were like, oh, boy. Josh Dobbs looks like an MVP candidate against our defense. Another 12-5 season later, you're right where you wanted to be, ideally, as far as playoff seeding is constructed, right? The questions in the run game and in the run defense still weren't answered, and those were the concern. And then after last week, when it seemed as if some of those answers had been addressed in the run defense department against the Browns team that majored in running the football, or at least they haven't in their past under Stefanski with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and those types of guys in their backfield, you know, it seems like the Cowboys maybe had figured some things out. But once again, as indicated, and I'm going to show you right here just to give everybody a brief rundown of what we touched on. The misdirection, the motion, and the condensed formations. When the running game looks exactly like the passing game does, and you have Swiss Army knives like Taysom Hill that just are they're mismatch and nightmares, because you never, like Tom Brady mentioned on the broadcast, you never know where he's going to line up. You never know what he's going to do. He can throw the football, he can catch it, he can run it. Alvin Kamara can catch it with the best of them. The two closest things to Christian McCaffrey in this league right now at the running back position are Alvin Kamara and Aaron Jones. The weaponry was different, right? The scheme this week was different. I was saying, watch out. Like, this is going to be a tough test for this Cowboys team because of all the eye candy that they're going to have to try to sort through. Okay, we're going to play this real quick, and then I'm going to get my guy Cowboys Beat on here. I'm going to shut up and just listen to see what he saw. Maybe he has a different perspective, but I'm excited to get him on. Here we go. No music today. We're on the in the ambiance of the back porch at my mom's house. So we're gonna have to deal without the drops for today. We're gonna talk about trades here in just a second too. So thanks for chipping in and commenting over there. One other thing, y'all let me know if the super chat feature is unlocked. I had to do a couple. There were some window dressing things that I had to do behind the scenes to, I think, get that going. But if that's not functional, the QR code at the top right of your screen is the official QR code of the Let's Get Lando a 4K camera fund. So y'all let me know, though. Let me share this screen real quick and then get a brief rundown so that we're all on the same page, and then we'll rock and roll, baby. We will rock and roll.
Tougher test for the Cowboys defense. The Saints are about to be a much tougher test for the Cowboys defense this week than the Browns were. Okay, a couple different reasons for that. Number one, they've got their own version of Xavier Worthy and Tyreek Hill and Rashid Shaheed. Okay, I call him Mr. Speed. In week 1, he had 3 of the top 20 fastest recorded speeds amongst anybody in the entire National Football League. Only one other player had as many as 2, and that was Alec Pierce, the Colts. As fast and underrated even as Rashid Shaheed is, that's not my number one concern. So today, we're going to learn a lot about how much better that Cowboys run defense actually is. Right, Derek Carr is not going to be nearly as easily confused at the line of scrimmage with the pre-snap, simulated pressures and rolled coverages as Deshaun Watson was. Saints offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak is from the Kyle Shanahan tree. Last year, he was the pass game coordinator for the Niners, but he brings a much better product to the table too in the run game. The run system that Shanahan, LaFleur bring to the table that gave the Cowboys fits under Dan Quinn. Luckily, though, the history of Mike Zimmer against the Shanahan tree schemes is very successful.
We thought.
And on top of the success against the tree itself, Kubiak was Zimmer's offensive coordinator in 2019 with the Minnesota Vikings. So the two know each other very well. They do all the things that I've been banging the table for the Cowboys to get going in their running game as well, marrying the pass and the run. The stuff that I talked about right here. I said, fix this. Yeah, I'm really excited to see if they can continue to trend in that direction. But the Saints are going to put on a clinic as far as Shanahan tree things in the running game, right? Condensed formations, misdirection, motion, all the eye candy things. There's tons of nuance that make processing what's happening in front of you for the opposing defense just a little bit more difficult to break down. defensively for the Saints, once again, I'm already on record saying during the live show preview of this matchup, if I'm Dennis Allen, contrary to what they did a week ago, confusing Bryce Young and blitzing their butts off, I'm bringing 4 and I'm dropping 7 and playing a vision-based defense, forcing Dak Prescott to hit tight windows the same way that the Bills, the Niners, and the Packers did to him a year ago.
Paste.
Dare the Cowboys
Paste.
to run against a lighter box until they prove to you that they can actually do it. Because as of this current point in time, they have not. That right there to me is going to be hanging over their heads all season long and potentially be the difference in whether or not they're actually able to get over the top of the NFC. Saints obviously not quite as talented in the back end or with their rush as the Browns were. They are more crafty and creative, much like Mike Zimmer is, with their simulated pressures and rolled coverages. Okay, so Dak Prescott's autonomy at the line of scrimmage and the ability to diagnose where the pressure's coming from, set the protection, and get his playmakers in the right positions to beat wherever those pre-snap tells are, it's going to be a massive neutralizer, right? A huge key for this game. I think it's going to be on full display. Now, Saints ran cover 1 man, second most in the league last year. But as fate would have it, the Cowboys, of course, Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb in particular, that duo was number 1 in the league versus that coverage. So, once again, fantastic chess match. Something's got to give. And like I said, if I'm Dennis Allen, I'm playing more of a shell, like against Dak Prescott, forcing him to hit tight windows until the Cowboys can prove to me that they can actually run us out of that. I'll talk to you soon. Remember, prayer changes things. The war is already won. Love you.
All right. So I hope that makes sense to y'all. And please feel free to agree, disagree, cuss, discuss at me in the comment section. And while y'all think of that, real quick, I'm going to get my guy Cowboys Beat in here, and we're going to have a brief 5-second pause and a word from our sponsor. No sponsors yet. Okay, here we go. Cowboys Beat in the house. Let's go, baby. Mic check, 1 2 1 2. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Loud and clear, man. Loud and clear. How we doing? Better. I mean, obviously we could all be better, but you specifically, how are you? And then tell us what you saw, man.
Oh man, look, I'm always great, man. I'm hearing a little bit of echo here.
Okay, talk to us, man.
Maybe.
Oh, you're hearing an echo, you said?
Yeah.
We can solve that. Let's see.
Let's hear in the comment section. Do you guys hear an echo?
You sound perfectly clear.
Somebody said I got an echo.
See, the same thing happened whenever, how about this? Get that off there. Let me check my settings again. Every time I bring somebody in, this happened to me on the preview with Sands, it completely flipped my audio settings, and I don't know why that's happening. Hold up, y'all. 1 second. We'll troubleshoot this. And
Can you hear me? Oh, it's still echoing.
How about now?
Testing. Yeah, I can't hear the echo anymore.
All right. So StreamYard, whatever is going on, help a brother out here.
StreamYard.
Let's figure it out because we're losing followers. People are unsubscribing by the second here, waiting on this echo cancellation to get fixed.
That was a bad interception by Pat Mahomes.
Wait. You mean other quarterbacks throw interceptions too?
Oh, I know. Isn't that crazy?
Imagine that.
So one thing that I will say coming out of this is I am very surprised that the main story coming out of this game, it feels like, is Dallas needs another wide receiver. I thought Dallas moved the ball perfectly fine against the Saints.
Man, yeah.
Offense was not the problem in this game. They did not play well on the defensive side of the ball. They were physically dominated on the defensive side of the ball.
Yep.
It was embarrassing. They kept running to the edges. You go and look at Alvin Kamara's run chart. It's all to the edges. So what does that tell me? Micah Parsons needs to not play as many reps at defensive end. That's all they had him playing today.
That's the only thing I wrote down in my notes today. Why is Micah not in the middle more often?
All they had him doing was playing the edge pretty much all game. Did Nealon not show enough to give him some burn there? I don't understand. I don't understand why Overshown didn't play as much this week. Like, why are you keeping one of your best players on your defense on the bench. That doesn't make any sense to me. Look, I don't think anybody can stare you in the face and tell you that the Saints are a more talented football team than the Dallas Cowboys. Nobody should say that.
Right.
The Saints won this football game because they were a better coached football team by a mile. Mike Zimmer looked like somebody who hasn't coordinated a defense in a long time, on top of the fact that he has this new style of offense that now he has to adjust to. So this is what I'll say, right? To be optimistic here, and I do want to kind of go against the grain here. A win is a win, no matter how many points you win by, and a loss is a loss, no matter how many points you lose by. So this is one game. It was a bad performance. You get back to work. You see what went wrong. You make your adjustments, and you move on.
That's it. Yeah. I really get sick and tired of beating the same dead horse over and over again. But I'll keep doing it if it's necessary, and I get more comments regardless of which platform I'm on every single week about, and I don't know how you feel, where you stand. I know there's kind of like a polarizing stigma against using the term new media, which characterizes you and I. But I get comments every single week, man, more and more often, of the big boys, the people in charge with the decision making in this organization are paying more and more attention. And why wouldn't they be, right? When you got people with the lore of Brian Broadduses and the Vach Lombardis and the Skywalker Steels and the, Jeff Kavanaugh now teaming up with all of the aforementioned on a different but much bigger platform than previous. There's some things that are going on. But so the point is not to belabor it or continue to beat the dead horse, but the Micah Parsons thing, man, I just had this discussion with Law Nation and with Micah Parsons' brother himself this past week, and Ray. I don't understand why we keep taking one step forward and then two steps back. I thought we had finally turned that corner there. Clearly we haven't. But the only question, or the caveat to that, would be, how healthy was Marshawn Nealon coming into this game? Because I know he was actually on the injury report throughout the week. So, that could have certainly played a factor. And then I'm seeing Jake Hunter in the comments. He's talking about why is 13 on the sidelines the whole game. I can't really speak to anything yet, like as far as snap counts and productivity and all that. I'm going to have to go back, like you're going to do the same thing and evaluate and look at the film. But, man, all I can say is you just looked completely up for the challenge, or completely not up for the challenge against a team that was willing to copy and paste the Buffalo blueprint, the Green Bay blueprint, the San Fran blueprint, go heavy personnel, the Shanahan tree, condensing the formation, throwing misdirection, motion, and all kinds of other eye candy at you, making things difficult on your first and second level to not only control their gaps, but to trust what they're seeing and to trigger and key in on that. So, like all that to say, this was embarrassing. Back to the drawing board, but for anyone to go into this season and under a brand new defense and expect there not to be growing pains, granted, not to this level, I get that. But we've all understood that was not only likely, but inevitable, right? So let's just see what kind of adjustments can and will be made. And I guarantee you we'll see a much different product next week. So the sky is not falling, but there's lots of work to be done.
Yeah, for sure. And look, here's the thing. When you look around at the NFL this week, there were a lot of weird losses. Now, I understand you have to eat what's on your plate. I get it. I just want people to understand that this is not uncommon. I mean, the Ravens just lost to the Raiders. I mean,
and the Niners too, man.
So I'm not trying to say that to make people feel better. I'm just trying to say that to say, hey, this stuff kind of just happens. And I want to go back to the offense. I really don't think the offense played bad at all this game. I really don't.
Tom Brady was alluding to that numerous times. You're not alone there, I promise you. And I think you're right, by the way.
And by the way, Jalen Brooks, my thing with him is he's a year away. He's not there yet, right? There's still some things in his game that he has to work on, which is perfectly fine. He's a 7th round receiver.
Yep.
Let him sit it out.
The game's
maybe
still
try
just a little
Floyd.
bit too fast for him right now. You can tell. He sped up
Yeah.
mentally. Yep.
Look, there's talent there. I'm not going to sit there and say there's not talent,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's like I saw him on the one play last week that he made on that crossing route. He got tripped up there.
Yep.
So this is something that he's struggling with.
Yep.
He's struggling to stay on balance, and that's kind of a problem. Now, Tolbert got slammed for the first half of this game. I actually thought Tolbert made some plays for you, and I do think I think Tolbert can be a viable number 2, number 3 option for you. I'm not worried about this passing game. I'm really not. I'm more so worried about this defense because I do think that this is going to be a really good defense still. They're going to have to go back to the drawing board and fix some things. I believe in Mike Zimmer to make adjustments, right? Mike Zimmer talked about his first game as a defensive coordinator. I think they played the Eagles and they ran for like 270 yards on him. And he said, never again. So I believe that Zimmer will get back in the lab, switch some things up. And I'm not, by the sound of my voice, people may think that like I'm thinking that this is no big deal. No, it is a big deal. But at the same time, if you want this team sucks, everybody sucks. If you want that analysis, go on to X. There's plenty of people saying that right now.
Yes,
Wait
sir.
till tomorrow on First Take and The Herd. You can go watch all that stuff, and they'll tell you how much your team sucks.
Mm-hmm.
I want to take it the opposite way because, it's a tale of 2 weeks so far throughout the course of the season. You went into Cleveland, dominated them, and now somebody came into your house and dominated you.
Yep.
What team are you is the real question.
Somewhere in the middle, usually.
I can't answer that question definitively right now, but I mean, look, the Browns win that was no small feat, right? Like the Browns just won today against a pretty decent Jacksonville team.
They stymied them. They dismantled them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the sky is not falling. That's why it's a week by week league. It's still early in the season. And look, that Kubiak offense, I mean, he dialed it up, right? I mean, I know you can relate to this because you were a pitcher. I never played baseball, but you can relate to this.
Yep.
The Cowboys defense was like a baseball player when they're going up against a pitcher that's dealing, right? Mm. They're questioning, all right, am I going to get the curveball? Am I going to get the seam? Am I going to get the 4-seam fastball? All the pitches. Am I going to get a changeup?
Yeah.
What type of pitch am I going to get? And the pitcher's on the mound and he's locked in and he's confident as hell because everything's working for him that game and the batters can't figure it out. That's the same way with this defense. The defense was on their heels because they had no idea what the hell was coming at them. And the offensive coordinator was flat out dealing. He dialed everything, like pretty much every play he dialed up was something that got them a good amount of yards. So,
yeah, I actually think that's a perfect analogy, brother. Really, I truly do. And you kind of gave me an idea, or at least a talking point to build off of that, because me being, as you see on the shirt here, I should have mentioned this at the top, the Lando Show, sports below the surface. That's kind of the calling card because of, the experience that I had, or the experiences that I had playing professional baseball, right? I learned a lot of things about just the psychology in sport, right? We heard Trayvon Diggs allude to the Shanahan style offenses are annoying as hell. And I quote unquote, annoying as hell to play against. All right. That's Trey Diggs saying that. So I think in some ways there's like this like psychological warfare, just kind of the Cowboys understanding and feeling the storylines and the pressure of each of their last 3 playoff losses are to Shanahan style offenses. Their most recent loss in the postseason, in that building was to a Shanahan offense, which is Matt LaFleur, right? And before that one, the Cowboys hadn't lost a game in that building since 2022 in the regular season, right? So to me, I just wonder how much of this is just them pressing so hard and just trying. I don't know. It just seems to me like for whatever reason, and I understand that it's by design from the offense to create all that confusion, right? The chaos with the crossing routes, the rubs and the things like that, the bunch formations, the condensed sets. it's tough to navigate through. Like the traffic is a real issue, not only for corners, but for linebackers to try and process and figure out what the heck's going on. Because when there's less space between the formation, like all 22 are kind of just bunched in, relatively close or inside the tackle box, things happen quicker because you just can't there's not enough space for you to process all the moving parts, right? So, man, it's just brilliant work. And honestly, we have to tip the cap to Clint Kubiak and for Derek Carr for executing. And yeah, he wasn't asked to do much. This complete unpacking of this team was largely in part due to the scheme itself, but you still got to put the ball on the money. You still got to hit Rashid Shaheed 70 yards down the field. And I talked about that, right? And the preview said that this is not Deshaun Watson that you're playing against. I know Derek Carr he's become, for lack of a better term, a meme in this league. But it just goes to show you the difference an offensive coordinator can make and how quarterback friendly having a really good defense, but in this case for the Saints, an elite level rushing offense, what that can do for you as a quarterback and just as a team as a whole. So they were able to play complementary football. The Cowboys were forced to be one-dimensional. And I thought that was a potential for that to be the case if they couldn't run the Saints out of a too high or, just a lighter box, right? But that turned out to be the case, but it was for a completely different reason. It was because their defense was just completely anemic. So, that's just the way that this league works, man. Everybody's good. And to answer the question, what do you mean by the NFL is cracked? Just kind of putting a bow on the whole point here. It's the parity, the week-to-week nature of the NFL, right? Any given week, these are professionals here. And you just see that it's the way that it works. That there's the coaching in this league is just all across the board. It's just highly competitive. And so, it's a constant chess match. And you have to make adjustments, and you have to continue to get better each week. Bill Belichick and his new podcast, if y'all haven't checked that out, I highly encourage it. But he's talking about getting better week to week isn't enough in this league. You have to get better every single day, right? It's not because if you only get, he said, and I quote, if you only get better 17 times, referring to the amount of games that they're going to play, you're falling behind. You can't keep up with the Joneses. So you've got to get better every single day. And it starts with getting into the film room, having that leadership, right? The guys on the defense who are familiar with and have helped you kind of get to the point to where you are right now, bringing all the other guys along who are new to the system, the Zimmer system. It takes everybody, right? And it takes what it takes, but you have to regroup and you have to get back to the drawing board. And once again, like I said, a week-to-week league, the NFL is cracked, the parity in it. You're going to see a much different Cowboys team next week. And then the week after that, we might see a version similar to the one that we saw this week. And it's going to continue happening. There's a push and a pull because the talent across the board on the coaching staff and with the personnel is just really that good. So just goes to show you 3 consecutive years of winning 12 games in the regular season is no simple feat. Okay, the talent on this team is real. They just have to get the scheme on both sides of the ball to kind of pick up some slack to maximize the personnel that they have. So,
and here's my thing. Me and Okoye talked about it like 30 minutes ago.
Okay.
This team does not play well when they're thriving. When they face adversity, they play their best football. And I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, just look at the playoff performances over the last 3 years here. Last year, Washington, you blew them out. Everybody was feeling great about your team. You got blown out in the playoffs. Yep. The year before that, they won in the playoffs after one of the worst regular season performances I think I've ever seen the Cowboys have in that Washington game. I think that Washington game, that week 18 in the 22-23 season was a worse game than this one. And then you go back the year before, Cowboys beat Philly in Philly by like 1 million points and then lose in the wild card game. This team, for some reason, does not know how to act when they have success. And I think we saw that on display here, which is, it's actually really annoying because like, I would just say like, hey, that game against Green Bay still happened. Like, I get it. Your week 1 performance was really good. You need to build on that. You need to get better day by day, like Bill Belichick says. You
Yep.
can't get better 17 times a year. You're not going to be able to keep up.
Yeah, I agree. And we got Saints fan in the house taking his victory lap, deservedly so.
Shout out to you.
Yeah. So he's saying y'all was talking big cash money. You know what? Give the Saints their flowers. Well, I would just respectfully advise you to check my timeline and all the content I produced this week, and you would see that the flowers were given well before this game ever took place. So appreciate that. Appreciate you tapping in with us, but some of us are surprised about this result. Some of us aren't. Now, nobody saw this routing. I didn't for sure, but I know that y'all are a much different team this year than you were in years past. Go ahead, Cowboys Beat.
Here's my thing that kind of annoys me about that comment. If you want, look, credit to you guys. You guys played a tremendous game. But we're not going to sit here and talk about the Saints and how well the Saints played. We are a Cowboys-centric YouTube page. Why are we going to do that? Like, we're going to talk about how the Cowboys can improve and what the Cowboys did wrong in this game that they need to improve on for the next few weeks or for the rest of the season. Why would we talk about, hey, Alvin Kamara played great and this is what this means for the future? Why would we do that? We're not a Saints-based page. So flowers to you. You guys played a tremendous game, and you kicked our ass. I mean,
no doubt.
I don't know how much more.
Somebody do the math for me real quick. What's the final? Add up the last two games that the Cowboys played in their home building. What's the total score? What's the deficit there? What was the final of the Packers game? I don't even remember. I've been trying to delete that from my memory, but
48-32.
48-32. Okay. So let's add, man, math is hard. 48 plus, what was the Saints total today? 42?
Yeah.
90 points surrendered on defense.
44, I'm sorry, 44-19.
92 points on defense. Okay. And then 19 plus 32. 92-51. The Cowboys' last two games at AT&T Stadium in Arlington.
I'm sorry. One last thing to J-Live.
Oh, go for it.
Go talk to the fans that were talking smack about your team. Go talk to them. Go brag to them. Me and Lando were on the same page. Yeah. I got slandered by Cowboys fans because I said that the Saints offense could give the Cowboys defense problems. I got slandered by the Cowboys fans.
Yeah.
So you're talking to two people who publicly went on record and talked about how much we respect the Saints offense and their plan of attack.
Right here. If you're unfamiliar, J Live, right here. If you just go to my Twitter, that video that you see right there, you'll see it. Now, it was posted a little bit later this morning than I thought. Sometimes I'll wake up and I'm like, I don't feel like the message got received. I do a 2.5 hour live show previewing this game on a Thursday or a Friday night, and 1,000 people see it. So I'm like, man, I want people. I just want to help educate fans about the reality of what to expect, man. That's part of the fun in it for me, is like diving deep, getting below the surface here. And by the way, these new shirts we're going to have coming out pretty soon. Here's this little sample, blue one with the logo on the back. And we're going to have a few different designs with just like the acrylic on the front. Those are about to be in the shop here soon. So just keep your eyes out for that. And let me know if you want one. Slide into the DMs and I'll reserve one for you. Resources may be limited, but anyways, man, that's all I got on that front, I guess. But he says, I listen to all your content and you were a little smug in your comments. What does smug mean? Or in that context, I'm not really sure what that.
Well, let's stop paying him attention now.
Anyways, take your victory lap, man. Y'all deserved it. You earned it. But long season ahead, and all we can do is just talk about where this team can improve moving forward. So.
Yeah, I would just say, look, if the defense plays better, I think that the offense would have gotten into more of a rhythm. I mean, I think it was 4 of their first 4 possessions the Cowboys had, they scored on their offensive possessions. So I don't necessarily think that this was indicative of the offense. It's when the opposing team has the ball forever, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Like
They had an
there's
8-minute drive in the third quarter. The Saints did.
It was really incredible. And to just see a veteran play caller like Mike Zimmer get absolutely pantsed like that is
yeah.
I mean,
not,
it was embarrassing to see. But this is what I'll say overall when it comes to the Cowboys front. They struggle, and this is going to be something that I think you're going to find very interesting. I think this team would be more successful if they were in the AFC compared to the NFC. The reason why I say that is this.
All the Shanahan teams are in the NFC.
What's that?
Because all the Shanahan teams are in the NFC?
Correct. But this is what I mean by that.
I know.
When you look at the teams that the Cowboys struggle with, and I know they struggled with the Bills last year. I get that. But the teams that they struggle with are the ones that are like, hey, it's not about me, it's about we. And what I mean by that is they struggle with complete football teams that get multiple people involved in their offense and on their defense. In the AFC, that's not necessarily the case. There's a lot more one-man shows on the AFC side of things. And when the Cowboys go up against a team like that, they have success. They struggle against the teams that say, hey, we might not be as talented as you, but we're going to just flat out scheme you. And because of that, that's why I think the Cowboys struggle in the NFC.
That's what the Cardinals did last year to us too. And I know that's not an AFC team, but just to your point, to your punchline right there, that's interesting, man. I hadn't really looked at it from that lens, but that makes a lot of sense. In Skywalker Steel, I was trying to sign out of Twitter. That way we can get the full split screen back between you and I up here. But I saw his tweet, man. He said the difference between the Cowboys and Saints offensive scheme, structure, and play calling is just so night and day different that it's sickening. And that was another thing we touched on the live preview, man. It was the old school nature of the three, I guess, most important figures when it comes to the Cowboys offensive game planning. Mike Solari, Mike McCarthy, and Brian Schottenheimer. They're all, from the same ilk as far as the West Coast offense goes, but those are old school dudes, man. And they brought in Steve Shimko from Boston College as an analyst, and I thought that potentially we would see some of his ideas and nuance in the running game would maybe come to life. And still, it's early. We can't make any sort of declarations yet, right? There's not large enough sample size. But to me, they're just so far behind. And like you're talking about, you shouldn't be, with the talent that is on this team, there shouldn't be instances when you're just completely getting dismantled because you're so one-dimensional that you can't play from behind or that you can't stop the run, And that was the kryptonite last year alongside the Shanahan tree. And, it's going to happen again. It doesn't matter how high-flying and high-functioning your passing offense is. When you get into the postseason, teams that are more well-coached than you are and who are willing and have the ability to get physical and downhill on you, they're going to play in a phone booth, and the Cowboys are not going to have an answer for it. So it was surprising to see Linval Joseph and Jordan Phillips and company get pushed around after what we saw out of them last week, just completely controlling the line of scrimmage. Once again, I don't know what really to make of it. Is it a lack of focus? Is it a overconfidence thing? Is it truly scheme? I think it's probably a little bit of all of the above. And, once again, Micah Parsons, too, playing on the edge, just kind of being entrenched over there where he can't really be a factor and effective pursuing the football from the middle of the field. I don't know how many times I have to say it. I will continue to say it until I no longer feel the need to. Okay. But as of right now, that's not the case. So frustrating performance, but not the end of the world. And I know you said you got to get up out of here, man. So please feel free, do your thing. Thanks for stopping by and checking in. And I know we'll be doing this again soon.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah. Any final, make sure the people know where to find you, man, before you get out of here. And we'll talk.
You can find me Cowboys Beat on all social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, and X. And one last thing I want to say. I think I said it earlier in the stream. I don't care. I'm going to reiterate it.
Mm-hmm.
A win is a win, no matter how many points you win by. And a loss is a loss, no matter how many points you lose by. It's one loss. Don't let one loss become two losses, because that happens in the NFL.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's the message that needs to be installed into this locker room. This is a veteran football team. They understand things like this happen over the course of a season. Mm-hmm. So you go into You get in the film room, you make your adjustments, and you be better next week. That's all that is. So, rough outing to say the least. And one last thing I'd like to say. Do not let a football team ruin your day. To anybody out there.
Oh, heck no.
Eyes open. Your eyes were open.
Yep.
If your eyes open and everybody that you love is healthy, you had a great day, regardless if your football team lost. So that's the message that I want to send to people because, oftentimes, people's day is ruined by their favorite team losing. Like, no, it's
not me.
It's an inconvenience. We're all blessed out here. And that's the message I'd like to send to everybody.
Bingo. Appreciate you being here, man. Thanks again. I know you got stuff to do, so do your thing. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and we'll talk to you soon. Keep killing those Instagram posts, by the way, bro. Your professionalism with the creativity and the just the way that it's presented is spot on. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I've tried to take a little page out of your book there and not copy paste, but just kind of listen to you, look at what you're doing. I'm like, I like that. I want to bring some of that to my platform as well. So you're inspiring me on that front, brother. Keep doing great work, and we'll talk.
And here's the thing: there's enough room for all of us. And about that, my thing is, I want to help grow the game of football. And maybe me growing the game of football isn't me sitting there and trying to break down the X's and O's to the finest of details, because I can't do that to the level of some of these other guys like Belichick and Gruden and Tom Brady and Drew Brees. But you want to know what? I can push their content out there to people so that they can become more informed and so that we can grow the game and that we can be a more knowledgeable fan base. So
reemphasize. I love it. That's spot on, man. Thanks again, Chris. Have a good day, brother.
Take it easy, Lando. See you, bud.
All right, y'all. That was Chris from Cowboys Beat. Once again, I said everything I tried to sum it up as quickly and briefly as I could about the work that he's doing. But he's an up-and-comer in this industry, man. And, he definitely motivates me. And as he tried to allude to, a rising tide raises all boats. So that's always the goal here. And to build off of his other sentiment when he signed off, just in regards to waking up, having oxygen in your lungs, having healthy people around you, people that you love. Life is too short to let a matchup like this just completely ruin your day. I mean, look at the sun shining, even in Dallas, Texas, or Fort Worth, Texas right now. It's comfortable enough outside for me to sit out here and watching the afternoon slate, and there'll be a night slate tonight. I'm going to go home and play with my girls and, get a good night's rest, sleep with a roof over my head. Life is good. But the thing is, to build off of that, right, this is the one thing I learned in my time playing professional baseball. There's always more lessons in the losses. Right? Fail forward. And so the teach points, it's almost like in some ways having success to the level that their defense did in week 1 could have served as been a disservice for them, because maybe they just, and this is complete lack of professionalism, but we're human. Okay. Especially with the spotlight that comes with the star. It's very easy to get lazy or just to, maybe not be as intently focused as you otherwise should be. And I'm not saying that's the case. I'm just laying out examples of what happens here and why there's so much parity in the NFL, because the opposing talent, they're all professionals. The opposing coaches, they're all professionals. So they say it's a not for long and a week-to-week league for a reason. That's because it's true. But yeah, fail forward, man. There's always more lessons to be learned in the losses. And the film is going to say everything. That you can't hide from the film. The film don't lie. So I'm excited to get in there and see what really went wrong, what was the fail safe, and what broke. Like what broke the dam completely. But I can tell you right now that not controlling the line of scrimmage is at the forefront, if not the very top of that list. So that's all I got, man. I'm gonna get back to kicking back and enjoying the rest of the Sunday. Watch this afternoon slate, see the Chiefs and the Bengals play, and then we'll get to the other team in Texas that's playing tonight in prime time against the Bears. So that's gonna be fun. You guys know where to find me though, at the Lando Show on all socials, including Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, of course, right here. Thanks for clicking on this link. If you're still in here hanging out with me, I appreciate y'all. Hit that like button for me. And as always, prayer changes things. The war is already won. Love y'all. Talk to you soon. Peace.